Recommended approach for addressing a consulting case. The nature of management consulting cases are highly varied. While each case has its own set of problem-solving required, it is advisable to keep a certain structure while approaching any case. Let's look at the standard approach to management consulting assignments. Let's understand the process with an example. Say the client is Ikea, and they are wondering if they should open a third outlet in Dubai. Here's what their consulting process would look like. Request for information, or RFI. This is the first step of every consulting assignment. Once a client has realized that they need an expert to handle their organizational issue, an RFI is released by clients to gather information about the approach different consulting firms would take to solve their problems. The RFI template will seek to collect information around how a vendor might solve a problem or fill a need, and provide the cost of carrying out the consulting assignment. It is centered around the firm's capabilities, costs, and payment terms, and trying to understand their perspectives, not their capabilities. This part of the process is supposed to give valuable insight into how a company thinks and their level of expertise. Ikea will reach out to a number of consulting firms and ask for information about their expertise in new geography and market acquisition. This mostly addresses general questions that are designed to educate and inform Ikea about the next steps that different consulting firms will be taking to solve their business needs. Firms who have undertaken such projects previously will definitely have an edge because it makes them more credible. Request for proposal, or RFP. Once a client has received multiple RFIs, they then shortlist a few firms to gather more details. In this step, the client seeks to understand the techniques and business processes which the consulting firm would use to address their problem. The responses provided will be used to evaluate the merits of each vendor compared to others. Here, the client will be asking specific, detailed questions about the service, product, and the firm's business. Here, the client expects the consulting firm to give a sneak peek into the different strategies the client may not have considered, since each firm will include their own unique action plan along with their bid. Say Ikea is satisfied with RFI responses from KPMG, Bain, and A.T. Kearney. The next step for them will be asking very specific questions around pricing, which consultants would work on the project, and what the project duration will be. Hence, for consulting firms, it is vital to have an action plan which has clearly defined steps that would be taken by them to address the problem. At the start of your career, you can expect to be part of assisting managers in responding to RFIs and RFPs. Let's assume KPMG won the bid process based on their RFP response. Understanding a client's problem statement, also known as the discovery phase. This involves gathering data from multiple sources before the consultants apply their expertise to solve a business problem. Whereas consultants previously relied on interviews, client feedback, and general monitoring, many now incorporate big data analytics and predictive models into their discovery process. This part of the process involves review of existing business documents and processes. The next step is quantitative analysis of information using statistical tools to zero down on the problem statement. Consultants from KPMG will have detailed conversations and meetings with IKEA C-suite management, as well as key stakeholders in UAE. The idea is to understand the mindset, goals, and problem in more detail to solve the problem better. Gathering intelligence to solve the problem. Compiling it may involve attitude surveys, cost studies, feasibility studies, market surveys, or analyses of competitive structure of an industry or business. This process is undertaken to understand the as-is scenario to visualize the to-be scenario. During this phase, the consultant and the client cooperate in defining in detail the purposes to be achieved by the assignment and assessing the client's performance, resources, needs, and perspectives. At this stage, KPMG consultants will work towards collecting all primary and secondary research information. They will be working to understand the customer's affinity to IKEA, the investment IKEA would be making, and what the market conditions and spending abilities and competition's market presence is looking like. Making a diagnosis. This phase aims at finding the solution to the problem. It includes work on one or several alternative solutions, the evaluation of alternatives, and creating a plan for implementing changes. This phase requires imagination and creativity, as well as a rigorous and systematic approach in identifying and exploring feasible alternatives. Consultants need to make the information speak by generating solutions and answers to the business problem. This requires both dedicated analysis as well as innovative thinking. In addition, consultants need to start preparing for the recommendation phase by creating charts, compiling proper documentation, and updating the PowerPoint slides. KPMG and Ikea managers will work together via joint consultant-client task forces to work on data analysis and other parts of the diagnostic process. This process takes up 60 to 75% of the entire project time and is critical to success of the project. Making recommendations based on the diagnosis. The engagement characteristically concludes with a written report and oral presentation that summarizes what the consultant has learned and that recommends in great detail what the client should do. Firms devote a great deal of effort to designing their reports so that the information and analysis are clearly presented. This can be one of the most difficult points for some consultants. As an analyst, you will be working very closely with managers to put together these presentations. At this stage, KPMG senior managers will be working very closely with the IKEA higher management and presenting their analysis of the problem statement. Assisting with implementation of recommended solutions. Probably not more than 30 to 50% of consulting assignments include the implementation. If the client is fully capable of handling any phase of the change process alone and is keen to do it, then the consulting assignment ends in the previous step. During this phase, consultants have the opportunity to see the fruit of their labor. Essentially, consultants will ensure that their suggestions are put into action and assist if the process hits bottlenecks. While ideally your solution should solve the problem, problems pop up which often can be anticipated. In these instances, consultants need to help the client firm navigate through these issues and get back on track. Say KPMG advised IKEA not to open a third store based on their analysis. The next step in this case would be where a new outlet in the UAE could be opened, if not Dubai. Building commitment around corrective action. The final phase in the consulting process includes several activities. The consultant's performance during the assignment, the approach taken, the changes made, and the results achieved have to be evaluated by both the client and the consulting firm. If there is an interest in pursuing the collaborative relationship, an agreement on follow-up and future contacts may be negotiated. Once these activities are completed, the consulting assignment or project is terminated. Management consultants like to leave behind something of lasting value. What KPMG will try to do here is not only enhance IKEA's current capability to deal with immediate issues, but also help them learn methods needed to cope with future challenges. Consultants who include this purpose in their practice contribute to top management's most important task, maintaining the organization's future viability in a changing world. Whatever stage you're at as a consultant, be sure to step back and view the road ahead. While it's impossible to prepare for the unknown since there are sure to be bumps in the road, your job is to help the firm navigate through issues.